welcome to the Pounder Podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Melissa. We're your hosts for this episode. Before we get into it, we'll tell you a little bit about the podcast.
We've got some interesting topics planned. There's going to be some true crime from our forensics class here at Central, some stuff about high school life and your fellow classmates.
But for this episode, we'll be discussing the new dress code and schedule for the new school year. As seniors, we have a unique perspective because of all the changes that have happened while we've been at Central.
These have been some of the biggest ones thus far. Let's start with the 2019 to 2020 school year, which would be our freshman year, where everyone had 7 classes a day and there were no clubs.
I actually kind of liked the schedule a lot because the classes were a lot shorter, and so you could actually stand up. You weren't stuck in a classroom cramped for 2 hours in a chair.
Yeah, so I think they were 50 minutes long, opposed to now being an hour and a half long.
You're always doing stuff.
Well, I think the dynamic of that school year was also a lot different because it was pre-COVID and everything.
Yeah, no masks, no walking in one direction.
Yeah.
It was a lot more.
I
don't know about laid back.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't laid back, but it was definitely different. So then you had the dress code, which was the basic dress code that most of us have known for all the years. So freshmen wore purple shirts. Sophomores and juniors wore white shirts, white polos. And then seniors wore navy polos.
I do almost wish that we had that dress code just because now being a senior, I don't have the privilege of wearing that blue shirt to show
Yeah, but we get to wear Central shirts now, which I love. So
yeah, that's something you couldn't do freshman year.
And then of course we had to wear khakis, but there were no hoodies. You could not have a hoodie on or else they would take it.
They used to give us lockers and you have to put it in the locker, but no one used the lockers. So.
Yeah, no. And then we would actually end up just tucking our hoods into the hoodie, which just made it look like you had a bit of bulge in your back.
Yeah, but it was impossible to find that type of stuff without a hood. So.
Really was, because it had to be one of those certain colors.
And no big logos. That was very
weird.
much against the dress code.
I kind of wore them anyways, but
don't get caught. And that year ended in COVID, which would lead us into the 2020 to 2021 year, which is actually our sophomore year.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
That's the schedule that most people know. It was the block schedule where we had 4 classes.
One semester.
And 4 classes the next semester. Which, I kind of liked the schedule, but being at home, it was very hard not to fall asleep. Because you were in a class for so long.
Yeah, online, the motivation really wasn't there. They would just kind of give you an assignment, and then you have to, keep yourself accountable.
Yeah. So there were also no clubs that school year either. And you're supposed to go to lunch in, these certain ways. When you were online, no one went to lunch.
I think Katie can probably speak a bit more about this year than me, because I was completely virtual, whereas she went.
I went some days, not all the days, because I didn't want to wake up. So the lunches, we would start one day, Monday I think would be you'd go to first period during lunch, Tuesday you'd go to second period for lunch, and so forth. Then I think on Friday you'd go to your advisory class for lunch. But when you were online, you just didn't go to lunch.
Or they'd give an allotted amount of time, but people didn't really spend that with lunch. It was more so now you're not on Zoom for an hour or so.
Yeah, pretty much. Then to dress code, which was a weird experience that year.
It was supposed to be freshman dress code, and we were supposed to follow that, but it's kind of hard to enforce when, again, all of the students are online and there's very few people going to school.
Yeah. So online, no one wore dress code, even though they tried to enforce it for a few days, but it became apparent that it was not going to happen.
Especially when everyone's showing their ceilings and stuff. You can't, and even if people aren't, they're at their own home, even doing detention is pretty impossible.
Yeah. So when you were in class, though, coming to school, most teachers, it wasn't enforced at all, which could have just been a thing because there weren't that many students there. There really wasn't a point. I think one of my classes, 4 people showed up in person.
Yeah, and then obviously, the classes, they were more geared towards the virtual student just because no one was showing up.
Yeah, that was pretty much all that happened that year. Okay, then we have last year. Last year, pretty much everyone knows about, but we're still going to just go through it. So the 2021-2022 school year, our junior year, had the same schedule, like with the transitioning of our lunches and everything, but they started bringing in clubs, and then we know that it ended up changing to where they took clubs away from us just about, but then we kind of complained, so they gave us back just a little bit, and we have the shortened clubs that we have now.
During the advisory periods.
Yeah, it's our advisory period now. The schedule is pretty much the same for the most part, except the second semester is when it really changed to where we have those clubs we do now.
Yeah, so
dress code didn't really change all that much between our sophomore and junior year.
It was about the same. Now, like, they were a little bit more, like, relaxed with, like, the hoodies, and so, like, there were, like, logos on it. It wasn't, like, an automatic take it off, like, go home.
And they gave more on the jeans. Like, we had a lot of jeans days last year, which were actually pretty cool. As long as people follow the rules, guys. No rips, no holes, no tears, as Mr. I says. And just try to make sure that nobody wore hoodies on their head is, like, a big thing. And they don't wear hoodies on their head, then we could wear hoodies, which people still do, but hey, it's always going to be that way.
And the basics, like no headphones or all that.
So, most people know about last year, and that brings us to this year.
The senior year. Our senior year. So the schedule was a lot different this year. So basically, we have 3 different schedules, which was different. So they kind of like mixed our sophomore year and junior year schedule with our freshman schedule. It's like on Mondays we'll have all 7 A classes, and then on Tuesdays would be an 8A, right? And then you would have 4 of your classes, which would be like every other class. And then Wednesdays would be B Day, Thursdays 8A, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And that actually wasn't the school's doing. That was a Hamilton County thing where they wanted everyone to have classes all year long. So I know that Udall High School is also on the same schedule that we are on. And Mr. I actually said that. He had no control over it. It was just basically, this is what the county wanted. And I think the teachers voted on which one they wanted to go back to the 7 classes a day or they wanted to do this schedule. And they voted for this schedule. So we have this one.
I honestly prefer the 7-class schedule. I feel like I have a lot of free time in the block schedule, which isn't like necessarily bad, but I would rather be like doing, you know.
So I don't necessarily not like the schedule. It's just I feel like you forget about the classes you had the day before. And you're like, oh, I'll do that homework tomorrow since I don't have the class on like 2 days, and then the 2 days are up and you're like, wait, I forgot to do that.
Yeah, because now you have that homework and you're doing this homework, and it's all, at the same time.
All over the place, I guess. But we don't have no control over that, so we just gotta deal with it.
It is what it is.
So then, dress code is probably the thing that has changed the most, which it's remarkable that even happened, considering all the times we have tried to get the dress code changed, and it actually gave a little bit. Mr. I said that they actually just listened to what the students wanted and tried to change it based off of that. So
while also being like fair and not super
completely
unprofessional.
Yeah, not completely throwing out the entire dress
so
code.
Obviously no rips, no tears in jeans.
No jeans at all.
No offensive t-shirts.
Our dress code for this year, most people know it. The one thing that they added in was you could wear any color of the 3 colored polos. Or any of those 3 colors.
Yes.
And then you can also wear a central t-shirt.
Any central shirts, like the piano shirts, the band shirts, they're all free game.
Yeah. So they extended we could wear from you could wear the same things you could wear before, but now they add in navy blue pants, black, army/olive green. Also, they added in a couple color polos that we could wear. Now you can wear gold, which everyone knows just going to be yellow. You can wear black, white, and gray polos as well. So I think that's pretty cool.
I like the variation, and it's not completely
free
range dress code, but it is a lot more than we did have, so I do appreciate
the
being
change.
given some freedom.
Yeah. Hopefully we're good with this one. It may actually end up changing more in the future.
We won't be there to see that, but hopefully you guys can enjoy that.
Enjoy the more that will come with it. And then the outerwear is also expanded to the colors expanded. But you can wear a hoodie now as long as you don't put the hood over your head, or else they might actually take it. So that's pretty much all the changes in the dress code for this year. So I think it's pretty cool that things have changed so much.
And seeing people around school, we're not all wearing the same thing.
You can no longer tell who's in what grade.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's a senior. Oh, that's like a sophomore, junior. Oh, look at the purple freshman. You guys were never known as the grapes. So new freshmen will never know the struggles that we had to go through of being judged for being freshmen. In the best way, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the normal high school experience where you're like the hierarchy.
Not anyone can be what they want to be.
They can pretend, but
True color show. This concludes the very first episode of this year's Pounder podcast.
Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for what's to come.
If you're interested in being on an episode, let us know by emailing Mr. Contrell.
I'm Katie.
I'm Melissa.
And this is
the Pounder Podcast.